starting, so if y'all are gonna talk crap about anyone, it's gonna get caught.
Audio recording.
We're gonna hear you if you're like, this is so freaking stupid.
Right. We're gonna post it too. But so just as a note, when you do an EVP session, a lot of times on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, I hate those guys. Like they will rapid fire questions. They cannot, like you have to give them time to respond. Usually you give a 5 to a 7 second window. So like if I'm gonna say, is there anyone here with us? And so when something like that happens, you go, Courtney laugh.
I was laughing at Annie eating.
She's all here.
So as you can probably imagine, if you are sitting next to the recorder and your stomach growls, it's gonna sound like a demon. So we're like, I feel like I burped on investigations and it sounded horrendous. Like, just call it out. Just be honest. Be like, I burped. That was me. That was me. That was me. So that way, whoever is listening to the audio at the end can then differentiate what should be there from what should not be there. So like, even if you just like accidentally like scuff your feet, like just call out, that was me. Or if you giggle, that was me. Or if you whisper, you say someone was whispering. And that just gives us a way to go. Was that my phone or was that one of y'all's? Yours.
Maybe.
Mine might be full because I know I've been using it pretty heftily. Oh, okay. Well, it thinks we're at the YMCA, but it's still recording. All right, so we're going to kind of just popcorn this. So I guess we can kind of start, but anyone who wants to pop up a question, just like raise your hand. And after someone asks a question, wait 5 seconds, and then you can ask yours, okay? And if we need to point, because everyone has questions, we'll start pointing, but I don't think we'll have that issue. So we'll go ahead and get started. Is there anything in here with us tonight?
Yeah, while you guys are thinking of stuff you might like to ask, I also always, in my experience, everybody's going to be different. I have always picked up really cool EVPs just when I'm like conversing with the person next to me. Like one time I was at the Scott. I see some heads nodding. I love this. I would love to hear more. I was at the Scott County Pork Farm. Has any of you guys? Yes.
I helped get that started.
Oh, awesome.
Well, thank you, because that place is amazing. And it's got a very haunted history.
Yes, it is.
And one of the stories is sightings of cats that are, you turn right around. I know cats are kind of, fast and quick, but just these constant reports of cats being there 1 second and not the next, and hearing cats and there's nothing. And so I was upstairs doing an EVP session, and I was telling the story with the person next to me, and I was like, yeah, one of the reports they have is that they see cats out of the corner of their eye, like in the house, or they hear cats, and we didn't hear anything at the time, but when we played the EVP back later, as I'm saying, one of the reports they have is cats. You hear this meow. Yeah. So I always also think, it's okay to also just have conversations about things maybe that are relevant, or just have conversations in general, and listen to those moments on your recording as well.
Right, and also we didn't really do that, but invite whatever may be there to speak to you through your device, and let them know there's a device you can communicate on. If you have anything you'd like to say, please do so. So,
Do you want to do an example of that here?
if there's anything in here that would like to communicate with us, we have a device here and a device here at the other side of the room. Please feel free to speak into that device. We may not hear you now, but we may hear you when we play it back, and we would love to communicate. So if you have anything that you'd like to say, please do.
We'll wait 5 seconds.
I was just wondering, since this was an old Civil War hospital, if you would ask questions
Staircase.
did you die here?
Go for it.
Yeah, you can ask any question that comes to mind. It's all free game here.
Did you pass away in this hospital.
That's actually a really great point that you bring up because, yeah, like bringing in the history of a place that you're at could, you know, yeah. It's kind of like you just act like you're talking to somebody, but they're not really there.
Right.
Are you the man with no legs?
I think my experience with the spirits that are here, that a lot of them are soldiers that did pass away during their stay at the hospital. Quite a few of them are soldiers that passed away.
And that's what she's referencing here.
Yeah.
Why are you still here?
Do you like having us here?
Is there anything you'd like to say to us?
Is there a time in a 24-hour period that you are more present and active?
My son really wants to know, and I know that they've been resistant to tell us, but my son really wants to know what their name is, if there is a name that they can give us.
I would just like to thank the soldiers for their service to the country.
Thank you.
What year is it? It stopped recording? Oh, it's still going.
Yeah.
It's still going.
Oh,
I know it's
The
it's
line
really
just
wonky.
gets real thin.
Yeah.
the river right there.
Yeah. And I really liked your question too because it, I don't know if we talked a lot about this, but, and you see a lot of these like paranormal TV shows and I think there's also a lot of ghost hunting groups out there, I'm not picking on anyone in particular, that bring a lot of very aggressive energy with them. And would never say things like, thank you, and how are you today? How are you feeling? What do you need? Like, you know, stuff like that. So we bring a sort of, I mean, you could call it a feminist approach, you know, but just a more kind sort of approach and really treat it as like, we're just having a conversation like I would be having a conversation with Annie, right? And not like commanding her to do stuff.
Yeah, we talk to them, myself and my employees, we both, or all of us, talk to them on a daily basis. I don't know if you all mentioned it, but we do have an altar, like inside the wall that we have kind of dedicated to them. I have like jacks and playing cards. I was told, oh gosh, it was probably a year ago that they were bored and they just wanted something to do, so I gave them some toys to play with.
Put some
They
cigarettes and
just-
chocolate in there.
Cigarettes and chocolate. You had bourbon
Yeah,
in there.
yes, I did have bourbon in there. I did take that out like a week ago. Today I had a thought that they wanted pistachios, so I'm gonna bring them pistachios tomorrow. But you know, we interact with them a lot, and we do bring them things, and we have a whole like dedicated space just to them
Have you guys heard the staircase at all lately?
all the time. I mean, we hear steps, and a lot of activity happens in this area, which is where the elevator was to the third floor. So I don't know if that is the reason for all of the activity right here, but we also have like a lot of activity in the bathroom, which is right underneath the staircase, because the hospital was on the third floor. But
Now I'm kind of curious, Annie. Do you want pistachios?
yes.
The lady in the back and then
I wanted to know what you were trying to tell me the night I was in here painting by myself at about 9:30 at night, and I heard you walking, and then I stopped painting and I talked to you and said, if you have something to share with me, share it. And then it was quiet for a few minutes, and I said, okay, well then you can go now. And then I heard the steps. I turned around and watched as the steps just faded once they turned the corner. So I wonder who you were looking for. Was it me? Was it Annie? Because I know they really like Annie.
Yeah.
I want to know what you wanted to say when Kim heard her name, and I also heard something.
I'm so sorry.
Like when stuff like that happens, you just say, oh, that was a phone.
Yeah, right. Hello.
Who's on the phone?
And I know you all are not facing the windows, but like we've seen several people walk by and go like, what's going on there? So it's always important, like if someone was to come up and like knock on the window or do something, like you gotta call that out too. Honestly, it is hard to get clean audio it's hard to get clean audio outside. We've been up to Bridgewater Cemetery. That is, I mean, we've been around Halloween, and I tell you, every Bubba in Scott County was up there. Like, I'm kidding. And
Have you ever been to Story? Like Story, Indiana?
I've been there.
I want
I've
to.
heard that place is
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
How about that old Boy Scout? How can they
Okay, so I was actually a professional Boy Scout. Like, I was a senior district executive for 6 counties in southern India. Tunnel Mill in Charlestown is what you're talking about.
Yes, we've been in that old house.
I heard so many stories. And also, so the Clark County Police and the state police got called up there quite a bit because people kept thinking, there's people up on this property trying to break into this house. And there was a murder of a camp ranger relatively recently. They have a tombstone actually outside the dining hall to commemorate that camp ranger because he was very loved. Like the scouts loved him, the leaders loved him. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. But even before that, so it's one of the only Boy Scout camps that has a family cemetery on the actual property. So like you'll have just all these kids like doing their thing, and there's also a cemetery there. They also do events called like Haunted Woods and stuff, which, I mean, if you're in the mood for haunted stuff to happen, you're more likely to interpret haunted stuff as happening. But when I went up there, just as a district executive, I was just kind of like, all right, what should y'all know? And I had someone actually take me on a haunted tour of the camp. And so there's supposedly a little girl on the bridge past the family cemetery. There's a creek that runs through the camp. And there's a little girl that kids constantly see on the bridge. The camp ranger used to drive this big truck, bright white with big red headlights, and kids will wake up in the middle of the night thinking that there is a truck getting ready to run over their tent. Like, they will have a big glare on their tent, like 2 big lights, and it will scare the daylights out of them. Like, there are kids that will not camp up there. There are adults that will not camp up there. But the state police and the Clark County police were called up there one time, and they've got body cam footage that only like members of the Boy Scouts can see. I'm very lucky that I got to see it, but I was not in any way able to copy it because, people are really weird about that stuff. But in the footage, they're up there just to investigate a break-in at the John Works house, which sometimes has Christmas events. If you get the opportunity to go up there for their Christmas carols, it is like very well maintained, historically accurate, and still in its original state. Really cool historically, even cooler in a spooky way. But in the footage, they're like parked outside this house, and one of the police like swings around this way towards the cornfield, and when it gets to about like right here, you see this old man with like long gray hair and like a lantern. Like he kind of looks like the interpretation of the tarot card, the Hermit. He's walking into the cornfield, and it's really spooky because like I guess no one saw him while they were there, and there were like 10 police investigating this break-in. But then when they went back and investigated, like police tend to have some of the best creepy stories too. Like like when weird stuff happens and, you know, someone's not a paranormal believer, they obviously are gonna lean towards someone's breaking into my house, help me. And then the police get to investigate, and you know, they're not really equipped to investigate ghosts, but a lot of really cool stuff happens up there. There's also some land energy up at the tunnel mill, where you cross the bridge and you go up this like stone path, and it's really, really old, and there's this big stone wall. And they call them the Whisperers, because you'll just hear like as you're walking up the path to the next campsite. That's Katie whispering, by the way. But like, I don't know if you all are familiar with like puck wedgies, like little like, I don't know, they look like hedgehog people from the interpretations that we've seen. But like the kids tend to think that they're like puck wedgies that are like whispering or like talking to each other from the top of the ledge. Unfortunately, since it is a Boy Scout camp, it is not open to the public to go investigate, so I highly encourage you all to exploit your children, get them involved in the Scouts.
Is that White House still there?
Is what?
Is that White House still there?
Which White House? There's several.
Oh, it had an upstairs or downstairs.
That's probably the John Works house. It's still there.
But we,
You can still go up there around the holidays.
We got to go in and ghost hunt 12 hours.
Oh wow,
Oh,
yeah.
And
So
I saw a light on a wall.
there's a lot of cool stuff up there, but they really like tightened down because people, like every teenager in Charlestown was like, we're gonna go break in.
I was in Southern Indiana.
Yeah.
And not to bang on that, we do have to kind of keep things rolling time-wise a little bit.
Okay, hold on. Let's ask that last question and we'll end on that one. So after 7 seconds, we'll go and shut off these and move to the Estes method.
Actually, if you want, we can keep one going maybe.
Oh, yeah.
While we're doing the Estes thing, and when we close things out, we'll let them know, hey, we're going to be using a different method to communicate. So we're going to stop using these recordings after maybe another question or two, and then we're going to move on to a different method of recording. So if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
How old were you when you died?
Okay, so if there is something here with us and you still want to communicate and maybe speaking into an audio device was not working for you, we've got these other devices and we're going to have 2 of them. So once we get things set up and we start talking, please feel free to interact with these devices and let us know what you have to say. And with that, we are going to ask for one.
One first. Well, we're gonna do one for 5 minutes
Okay.
because it is extraordinarily, it is sensory overload.
So we'll take, I know you probably all maybe want to try it. We can only, let's do one for now. A volunteer to basically you're going to be isolated. So let me tell you what's going to happen before so you can make an informed decision. Basically, you're going to be blindfolded with noise canceling headphones on. So all you're going to be able to hear is the spirit box. So that is going to be the
Annie? I think Annie wants to give it a go.
and we're going to do 2 at a time. And then if this is something that you really enjoy or that you're interested in once we get going, we are kind of planning on maybe doing something that is diving more into just the Estes method at a later date. So kind of keep your eyes open and ears open for that. We may have another class at another time that we can spend more time with just these particular methods.
We could just do Estes method nights for like an hour or something.
Right.
That would be really
So
nice.
we may be doing some stuff with that. We're really excited. So.
I don't know if you want to use yours or, so Courtney has a better blindfold headset situation than I do, so we're gonna put in hers.
So while Annie's getting all sensory deprived, so we're going to basically be doing the same thing we just did with the EVP session while she is listening to the spirit box with her blindfold on. We'll test it to see if she can hear us. Now, we don't want to yell out the question, just speak.